A tour of the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, exciting and unique activities for space enthusiasts. This includes exploring the Space Shuttle Atlantis, experiencing a rocket launch simulation, and learning about the history of space exploration. Chasing the Russian Bear. Space was just for science fiction fans until the world's first man-made satellite, the USSR's Sputnik Beep Beep, beeped down at us from orbit. At the time, there were many views about the exploration of space. Warhawks imagined a future with orbiting bomb platforms and spies in beginning for humankind. Either way, America had to get something in orbit in a hurry if we were to be included in a race that had started without us. Atop a Redstone rocket, the military's two-stage. Renamed Juno-I, the four-stage rocket pushed 11-pound Explorer-I satellite into orbit on January 31, 1958. Getting history off the ground. No one has ever counted the number of technical challenges we needed to overcome in the infant days of America's space program. Many of the early rockets would lift just a few feet of their launch platforms before falling back and exploding. As obvious as it seems now, these early failures demonstrated the need to hold the bigger rockets on the platform until the liquid fuel engines could build up enough thrust to safely lift off. This hold-down arm is one of 8 of these devices, one under each of the Saturn IBS fins that the giant rocket in place during these critical seconds. Entire weight of the rocket was supported by the hold-down arms and secured only by the hooks, painted yellow for easy identification. An industry workhorse. With its inaugural liftoff from Cape Canaveral's Space Launch Complex 17 on February 14, 1989, the Delta II ushered in a new era in spaceflight. The Delta II served as a launch vehicle for the Air Force's first global positioning system.
Bill Schaefer. I'm a communicator here at the Visitor Complex. And before we begin our show, I do need to give you a little bit of a health advisory before we start. First of all, happy 4th of July, everybody. My health advisory is this. In addition to being a communicator here, I'm also a recovering 6th grade teacher. So if you're allergic to corn or nuts, my jokes are very corny and I'm a little nuts for the space program, so that might give you a little bit of an issue there. So all right, you guys look like you might be in the mood for some good corny space jokes. So here goes. Did you know that eventually we're going to be opening a restaurant on the moon? Did you know that? Yeah, it's going to have great food, but not much atmosphere. So, little surprised they're using moon rocks for that. I kind of expected them to use the small space rocks that hit our atmosphere. Of course, everybody knows why. The small space rocks that hit our atmosphere are a little meatier, and you'll laugh really hard on the way home. But anyway, one of the reasons we're doing this is to help protect astronauts' health. Astronauts can actually come down with diseases, illnesses that we can't come down with. For example, you know how athletes can come down with athlete's foot? Astronauts can come down with mistletoe, which is really bad. Now there's a rumor going around. I want to squelch that rumor right now. The rumor is that if an astronaut loses their toes because they get mistletoe, that they cannot be an astronaut anymore. That can't be true. If that were true, that would mean that NASA was lactose intolerant, and that just can't be the case. And that's as good as the jokes get. But anyway, when you're done with today's show, you might want to scoot to your right beyond that screen. You'll see some full-scale models of the robotic rovers that we've used to help explore the red planet, so these young folk in the audience aren't going to be in for a big surprise when they get to Mars. For example, you'll see a little guy about this big. That's a model of Sojourner. Sojourner was part of the Pathfinder program in the 90s, one of the first robotic rovers we sent to Mars. Not landers. We'd sent a lander called Viking in the 70s, but this was one of the first ones that could actually move around on the planet. You'll also see a model in there that kind of looks like a bat from a Transformer movie. That's one model that covers two spacecraft, Spirit and Opportunity. Opportunity is one of my favorite space stories. We launched Opportunity in 2003 to land on Mars in 2004 for what was supposed to be a 92-day mission. 14 years later, it was still sending data back to Earth. Talk about getting your money's worth. Now, unfortunately, there was a big dust storm on Mars, covered the solar panels, killed the batteries. We had to say goodbye to Opie, goodbye to Opportunity, but it was still a great run. By the way, if you're young or young at heart, when you go into the gift shop, you'll see another full-scale model of Opportunity, but that one's made entirely out of Legos. Isn't that cool? Okay. Another model you'll see in that room to your right, kind of tucked over into the corner, is of Curiosity. Curiosity has been on Mars for longer than 10 years now. It's about the size of a small car, and thank heaven it runs on plutonium. Why do I say that? Because it's still running. Curiosity has some issues, but it's still sending us great data back to Earth. And all right, I got one more corny space joke for you. Do you know why there are no cats on Mars? Because Curiosity killed the cat. You knew that was coming. I am so ashamed. Anyway, so far into that, on the left, you'll also see another set of models from the Mars 2020 mission. Landed on Mars February of 2021.